In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to create our own customized knight using the Libertas Armory Modular Medieval Knight Armor Pack, and Medieval Knight Weapons Pack Volume 1. These are all sold separately, however you can bundle them together if you would like for a little bit better monetary value. The whole goal is to create our own character. So we're going to set up the knight, we're going to apply some additional accessories and weapons, and then we're going to modify the visuals of them to make it even more customized. So I'm going to set up something for Libertas Armory. However, the same techniques will help you and hopefully give you some inspiration on how to set up your own knight for your own projects. So let's jump right into the Modular Medieval Knight Pack. And I'm going to go through and real quick add on the components. All right, so now I'm going to jump over and add on our custom colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out this surcoat with the custom color. So as with all three of these packs, when you go into them, you can find either in the clothing or in the accessories, they're going to have a drop down folder, which is going to have some additional accessories. And they're typically tagged with these blue colors. These are going to indicate that I've set them up with the appearance editor so we can make some adjustments to them to further customize them. So with this one, we're going to take this more plain looking surcoat and we're going to replace what is on here right now. So that's set up all similar. It still has its soft cloth physics activated, but it's going to have that appearance editor set up. I'm also going to swap out the belt. So we're going to take this belt and we're going to take the other version. So it's got the corded look along with these leather belts on the bottom, and I'll also add in our customizable scabbard and sword. So that's going to start us off with the base of our character. So let's jump in and just make some quick adjustments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on this component. I'm going to go over to my modify tab and I'm going over to our appearance. Here you'll find they have skin, makeup, and outfits. Within outfits, you'll find the medieval belt. So once we've had it selected, it should be selected here. Now I've set up these with the PBR version 1.3 mat. So that's already set up, but we're gonna hit activate appearance editor. So once this loads up, this is gonna give us the parameters that we can adjust. So I'll jump in here on this main kind of subsection. We have the LA Medieval Mittens Belt 2. You can choose which output size you want to do if your system is bogging down a little bit. Right now it's set at the 2K texture setting. You could drop it down and make some of these adjustments and then take it back up, if you want to just improve some of your performance as you go along. But we're going to stick with the 2K textures. You also want to make sure, and all of these have been set up this way, but you'll want to make sure it says flip normals on the Y. Make sure that's checked yes. We're going to go into our mesh data. You'll see that I have set it up with a color ID map. So this is essentially saying on the red, we're going to be able to adjust the colors that are associated with that mesh. And then on the green, we're going to be able to adjust those colors separately on that mesh. And I've also imported the normal here as well. So these should be set up for you already, good to go, but this is just where some of that information is. Then we can go into materials. So this base is going to adjust everything that is not on that red or green. So we're not going to adjust that right now, but we're going to go into the red channel. So this red channel, you could import additional maps if you wanted to, but for this, we're just going to adjust the tweak. And the tweak has, I've already enabled it, so it's good to go. We're going to go in here and you're really just going to be adjusting the hue, luminosity, and saturation in order to get a different color. So let's say we're going to go for more of the gold and black variation of the Libertas Armory logo. That's how we're going to set up our knight. So we can adjust the belt to look a little bit more goldish. So I'm going to bring some of that luminosity down, and that's looking pretty good. Now you could further go into this and you could adjust the contrast of the roughness channels as well and get some further definition out of there. But you can also continue to go down, and in certain of these specific patterns like blemishes, we could enable that. So it's a little hard to see here on the yellow, but there is a pattern here. We can adjust the scale. So yeah, there you go. You can kind of see it in the specular highlights there. But I'm going to turn that off. But that is something that you can do if you want to. I actually need to uncheck enabled. And then there's also dirtiness. So if we enable that, that's where you can really see some of this come through. maybe a brown for mud. You could adjust that if you want to. There we go. Is that okay? And then you can adjust the roughness on it as well. So that could give you some further definition on the belt if you wanted it to. But for right now, let's stick with just updating colors. We can then go into the green channel and go back to tweak. So this is going to be adjusting for this corded belt. So right now it's set with the saturation down a little bit. So I'm going to bump that up. There's that blue. But what I'm going to do is make it more of a warm brown, and then bring some of that saturation down again and the luminosity. So I'm going to go for more of a black look on that. So then, you know, we can again go in and adjust some of these other parameters if we want, but I'm not going to for this one. So that's going to do it for me on the belt. So once that's done, I'm going to go to Unload Appearance Editor. Now, one of the things I will point out when it comes to this is for some reason it enables a depth map essentially, so it can push out some of the materials. So that's in our displacement map right here. I'm just going to delete that. That doesn't really show up too much on the clothing items, but when we get into the accessories, that's where it's going to be noticeable. For some reason it kind of glitches and bumps out some of the mesh material, so deleting that after you're done is pretty much good practice. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to adjust the scabbard as well. A very similar process. We're going to go into our modify, go into our appearance, and select Active Appearance Editor. I'm just going to try to match in some of these colors that we've already done, and I'm going to try to do it relatively quickly. So I'll probably speed up this for the video. With this as an accessory, it's kind of messing up the mesh. So I'm going to unload that Appearance Editor, go into my materials, and I'm going to delete that displacement. And there we go. It's back to the way it's supposed to look. So now we have those two things set up. Let's jump into the surcoat. So this will give you a little bit of a different variation on how to apply this. So if we go back over to our Appearance Editor, we're going to see that the surcoat doesn't have anything activated on it. So I'm going to check mark it. And this one, we're just going to go with traditional. So once we click traditional, we're going to go in here, and yes, some of these need to be flattened. Okay. So this is one of the few items that I hadn't applied a ID map to, because it's basically just the tunic. And going with the traditional, it's actually going to apply a linen texture anyway, so that's going to work out really well for us. So for here, what I've noticed with this traditional map, it is a little bit more difficult, a little bit more computationally heavy. So I'm going to leave it at 512 for now, and then we're going to switch it back at the end. So I go into our input maps. It's got our normals that are already pushing through right now, so we're okay there. I'm going to go into the fabric. We're going to go base fabric. And from here, I can go down to our diffuse HSL. So that's our hue, saturation, and luminosity again. And I can change the color of the tunic. So I'm going to go for that yellowish effect again. Just get a little bit of darkness here. Now with these patterns, you could go in there and you could, again, add in additional materials, but we're not going to do that. What I'm going to go is and go into decal. And what this is going to allow us to do is add our own emblem onto the surcoat. So within the maps, I'm going to choose custom. There we go. It brings up a folder that I already had set up. So what you're going to want to do, if you want it to be a crest directly on here, so say one of these, you're going to want it to be a PNG on a transparent background. So let's go with this raven. Let's say open. And that's going to kind of just offset it into there. So we're going to have to work on the translation. So I'm going to bring it over on the x-axis, bring it up on the y, and then I'm going to scale it down just a bit. You can tell because we're at that 512 resolution, it's a little blurry right now. But once we have it in place, that's looking pretty good. Maybe just a tweak over 23.5. Okay, that should work. So that looks good. So I'm going to go back up to our surcoat and I'm going to hit that 2K texture. And now that looks a lot nicer. And this is being applied. It's taking the texture of our surcoat. So we're going to exit out. I'm going to unload this appearance editor. Go over here. And this one does not apply a displacement map, so we're good to go there. So obviously I can continue to go through and show you how to do that with these maps as well, but let's add some armor onto this character now. So instead of using the nasal helmet from the pack itself, which would have been found right here in the accessories, I'm going to go over to our medieval knight armor pack, and I really like the look of the Barbuda. So let's go in here. I'm going to choose a custom color. Now this one is set up. I can do it with the faceplate. Let's bring that down just a bit. Kind of painted just here, or I can do the whole helmet. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the whole helmet. Let's go in here. And we'll just bring that down. Looks like it just needs to be scaled up a smidge. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And again, you can see that the texture and the details I'm pulling through from the original texture map. So let's go over to our appearance editor. And again, this one has already been set up with that PBR3 matte. So we're at that 2K texture. Mesh data, you can see the red on here. That's the channel that we're going to be adjusting. So we're going to go into our red channel, go to tweak, and I'm going to just change the hue. So what's nice about that is you could really customize it to whatever color you want. And for this one, I'm just going to get it back to that kind of brownish area, and I'm going to bring that luminosity down so that we have more of a dark black texture, which I think looks nice. And then we can go into maybe this dirtiness map, which is already applied, and we can adjust some of the amount. So we can go over more of a clean look. And you can choose either dense or sparse. I'm going to turn that off though, so I get a little cleaner look. Let's see if we go into blemishes. Now this is something that we can adjust the pattern on if we want. You can kind of get into the fine, gritty details if you wanted to. So there we go, we have our black helmet, which is nice. Alright, so I'm going to exit out, unload my appearance editor, and once again, as a precaution, I'm going to go into that displacement, and I'm just going to leave that out. So we're okay there. Now let's add on some additional armor. So we can go into our clothing, and we'll go into the custom color. Let's choose this Pauldron 3, and then we'll add the pauldrons onto that. But then we're going to go with these two variants. And let's add the bracers, or the gauntlets as well, and the boots. Now of course this is going to be the same process, so I'm just going to speed this up for you so you can see me kind of go through the whole process. But one of the things I will note is because these are set up as accessories and this is as clothing, we're just going to have to adjust these independently because they're not going to update with one another. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'll pause right here and I'll say that you could always take down the notes of what the hue, saturation, and luminosity value are. So we have 0.48. Let's just change that to 0.5 again. So 0.5, not 5. 0.5. We got a hue at 0.6 and saturation at 0.75. So let's unload that real quick. I'm going to hop over to this one. There we go, 0.5. 0.6, 0.75. So there we go, now they're matching up nicely. That's cool. That's a great way to do it. So you can hit unload appearance editor, and again, let's hop in and delete that displacement. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here because I want to add an emblem onto the pauldron here. So let's go back into our appearance editor. We're going to use the decal similarly to how we did it with our main tunic, our surcoat. The decals, again, we have none. Now, with the PBR3 mat, you have some different inputs for the options. So you could do like a medieval pattern, which comes with that whole substance plugin. But we're going to go with input, and we're going to go into base color like we did before, hit custom, and I'm going to choose the Libertas logo. Okay. Of course, now you can't see where it's at, so we're going to have to adjust the parameters. So we'll tick this down, go into transform, and I'm going to have to try to find it. So with this one, it was just a bit too large. So we need to rotate it. Bring down the scale. Go back up. Alright, that's good. You can again go in and do some more with the blending and adjustments. Okay, so once you've done that and you've gotten your emblem in the place that you want, you can go in here into the blend. So the blend color intensity is going to give obviously like more of a opacity, but then there's the normal intensity. So you drop it all the way down, it's going to inherit more of the normal from the base material. Emissive, obviously, if we had emissive shader on there, it would push through. And then we have the roughness intensity. So this is a little bit more visible if you have something that's more out there. But anyway, you can drop those down if you want to really just inherit this and make it look like it was painted on. So now I can unload this editor. I'm going to go back in here and delete that displacement. You can see that it's pushed back into its original shape. So now we'll speed it up again as we get these other pieces in motion. Alright, so now we have that yellow and black feel going for our knight right now. The other thing that we'll probably want to do then is add in a banner. So obviously this sword can be done in the exact same manner. It's really just changing out the grip color. But let's give this character a banner. So we're going to hop over to our weapons pack, and those are set up as accessories. And they're just a little offset. So we'll reset that. Bring this behind our character. Alright. It's the same concepts here, even though this one is fabric. I have to use the PBR3 mat. So double click on that, go into our appearance editor. There we are, we're set up. Activate editor. There we go, we can see that that has been applied. So we can go into our red and again tweak. So yeah, this can kind of get redundant. It's very simple, but if you really just are looking to change out the colors, you can certainly do that. So I'm going to drop that down to be a black flag, which is great. But then we're going to add that Libertas logo on there. So we're going to go back into our decals, select decal 1, go to input, custom, I'm going to choose this. Again, it's set up as a PNG with a transparent background. So we'll go into our transform, adjust the horizontal position, rotate the other way, and bring it down a bit more. And boom, there we go. Repping Libertas Armory with our knight. So very simple. Again, this one might be able to show you a little bit more of that blending. So again, if you had maybe a normal map that you could apply there, you can certainly use that. Emissive, roughness quality, that's where you can really see this one as the roughness adjusts. So I'm going to bring it back more so that it's in line with the fabric. There's also metallic intensity. And we can unload that appearance editor. And then I'll make sure that I delete that displacement. There we go. So that's a very effective way of modifying your knight out if you want to. You can also use some of the preset materials if you wanted to, say from our presets in our pack. So let's say, for instance, we didn't like these gauntlets anymore and we wanted to go with these banded look. We can apply those, and then say the Hospitaller look is a good view for that. Just drag and drop it on there. And there we go. It's still kind of nicely in line with the feel that we had for this character. So that's an effective way of utilizing the appearance editor. One of the other things that I should bring up before we go is if, say for instance, you didn't want this chainmail on here. Let's say for instance you wanted the padded look. So we'll hop back over to our Modular Medieval Knight, go into the material presets, and we have this padded look for the sleeves that we can add in there. So it gives you a little bit more of a distinct look, but for instance, the sleeves I have not set up with the material editor. And for that, I would simply go into my modify panel, and then choose our materials. So when you select the material here, you can go over and hit adjust color and say we wanted a black look. All we need to do is bring down the brightness. So that's cool. But maybe if we didn't want to do that, we could change the hue and saturation. To get a little bit more of a refined look there. Brighten it up. And there we go. We have a yellow padded look. So that's another way that you can go about adjusting these components. So again, it kind of gives it open to you for interpretation on how you want to adjust these characters. And hopefully it shows you that you can take a modular knight like this and really mix and match it really well to bring out the vision that you have in your head. So maybe you have a knight that wears a red surcoat, or maybe you want something very specific. You can utilize these techniques to bring it to life. Now, of course, there are other ways that you could go about adjusting the character itself. You could take the costume into Substance Painter and do some additional details. And if that is something that you're interested in learning about how to do, let me know in the comment section below, because I'd love to be able to take you through that as well. But hopefully this video has been helpful. Hopefully it has given you some insight as to how to customize your own character. My name is Eric from Libertas Armory, and I'll see you in the next one.